tried the Republican Party, we've tried the Democratic Party, then we've gone back and tried the Republican Party, and now we're back trying the Democratic Party. And unfortunately, whenever we get into power with either one of these parties, we find that the one crying need of our people, the redistribution of wealth, so that none would be too poor and none would be too rich, is always neglected by the party that is in power.
How many men ever went to a barbecue and would let one man take off the table what's intended for 9/10 of the people to eat? The only way you'll ever be able to feed the balance of the people is to make that man come back and bring back some that grub he ain't got no business.
Obama we are above that now. We're not just parochial, we're not just chauvinistic, we're not just provincial. We stand for something, I mean, in a way, Obama's standing above the country, above the world. He's sort of God. He's going to bring all different sides together.
Federal Reserve cut its key interest rate by half a point. The I word, inflation, is coming to the major developments on the lending crisis in the U.S. Oil and gold prices are spiking.
You're right here on a financial
market. And as complicated as where we are in the election cycle.
Huge disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street.
I mean, the old boss is starting to look a lot like the new boss when it comes to the issues of offshoring, free trade. This is troubling indeed.
In 1913, the money power of the country was taken away from the people. By constitutional privilege, it belongs with the Congress, but it was given up in the Federal Reserve Act. The Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express.
I think one thing people who are dollar-based need to focus on is the Amero. That's the one thing that nobody's talking about, but I think it's going to have a big impact on everybody's life in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. If you Google it, you'll find out all about it.
China fires a broadside at the United States and says a new world currency is needed to replace the dollar. But with the American economy in decline, is China just playing politics and challenging U.S. dominance of the global financial system? And would dumping the greenback really work?
The Amero is the proposed new currency for the North American community, which is being developed right now between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico to make a borderless community, much like the EU, and the dollar, Canadian dollar, U.S. dollar, and the Mexican peso replaced by the Amero.
You really think that will get any leeway?
You may want to visit a couple of websites and see how far along it is. The Canadians are pretty upset about it, whereas the Americans, apart from the Texans, are the only people who know anything about it. The rest of the public's really sort of with their head in the sand on this one.
Okay, interesting. I mean, we've already got NAFTA, the free trade zone, isn't? I mean, is that working? Is that doing enough?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's created a lot of illegal immigrants coming across the border. I don't know. You get the pros and cons on this thing. NAFTA, for some people, is a very good thing. For other people, it's been a disaster. And I think this is one way that the politicians are trying to work themselves out of what potentially could be a disastrous situation going forward.